Hi everyone, and welcome to my long-term review of the Wahoo Element Bolt 2.0 cycling computer. The new Bolt is simultaneously exactly the computer that I've wanted for the past 3 years while I've been using this, the 1.0, and also a profound disappointment that leaves me frustrated and wanting more. Rather than just read you key specs, I want to talk about a few key features and then have a discussion about where this bike computer fits, what it's missing, and why I'm just left uninspired. But first, should you buy it? Let's break that down really fast before diving very in depth. If you're an existing Bolt user and you don't care about navigation, probably not. If you're an existing Bolt user and you do care about navigation, you probably should. If you're new to modern bike computers and you're looking for something that's going to reliably display your specs and your riding metrics, help you get around, and generally serve as a home for your information, probably. And if you're looking for an exciting, revolutionary piece of tech that moves the category of bike computers forward, no. Real quick detour before we dive in, and I want to say it now and we'll come back to it later. One of the differences between modernism and postmodernism is that the modernist uses objective measures to look at something and decide if it's better or worse than the thing that came before it. And the postmodernist says that all things are equal, all deserving of praise by virtue of simply being. We will come back to this. The original Bolt came out in March 2017 for $250 US. 4 years later, this new one costs $280 US. The standout meaningful changes from the original Bolt are proper onboard navigation and routing built into the device, the addition of a color screen more akin to the higher end Element Roam, brighter top LEDs for displaying information like your heart rate, power, or speed, a slightly redesigned body case featuring USB-C, and new buttons. Let's break down what that means in the real world. As much as I loved my original Bolt, the biggest frustration I had it was the lack of true GPS navigation. Essentially, the Bolt understood where you were in the world, but it didn't have the storage or power to actually provide navigation from point A to point B. It could show you your location on a predefined route that you built in ahead of time from specific websites like Ride with GPS, and it would alert you if you drifted off course, but it couldn't do much more than yell at you to get back on course. It also meant that apps like Strava couldn't be used for route planning because their directions didn't include the proper cue sheet in a Wahoo-friendly way. Happy to report, the Bolt 2 solves all of this. It offers actual navigation and will reroute you in real time if you stray off course or take a purposeful detour. In the real world, I found that it means far less navigation anxiety. With my original Bolt, I would often be frustrated because I would find myself at a junction that was confusing, or maybe my pre-made map wasn't absolutely perfect and I couldn't figure out where to go without riding in a direction, seeing if I was on the right track, and then backtracking if I wasn't. When making a route, the Bolt 2 also has the ability to select what sort of road surface to route you through. It can route you back to start, and it generally just provides actually usable navigation. If you're coming from a Garmin device or the Bolt 1 and you care about navigation, it's a fantastic addition that will tangibly improve your experience. Next up, the Bolt 2 adds a color screen. Initially, I was sort of lukewarm to this because I didn't know if it actually added value, but I've really enjoyed it. The color screen adds additional levels of understanding to the data screen without actually necessarily needing to read the numbers that I'm looking at, which is useful in both casual and fast-paced settings. Additionally, the color screen is super useful for that mapping functionality that I just talked about, because being able to see more clearly the type of road I'm on if I'm next to water and the route that I need to take actually adds real value to the screen in general. So seriously, good job. Next up, brighter top LEDs. I really enjoy the idea of using LEDs to show power, speed, or HR, but the original Bolt's LEDs just were not visible in the bright sun. Happy to report that the Bolt 2 LEDs are significantly brighter and they're actually visible in the sun, and that's also useful for navigation because it's your turn by turn. Next, they've made some changes to the physical case of the device. The screen is now flush versus set in, which is great for wiping water or dirt off. It has a satin texture on it that seems to slightly reduce reflections, and the buttons have been changed to be convex versus concave, but we'll talk about buttons more later. They've also changed the charging port from micro USB to USB-C, which is nice. But see, to the modernist, the inherent value of any piece of media, which is anything, is derived from the effort of its creator, the progress it's made over its predecessor, and by learning from past mistakes. The postmodernist rejects all comparisons to the past and says that media should be judged by what it is, regardless of how hard the creator did or didn't work, and it celebrates the apparent and rejects any comparison to what's better or worse. Wahoo is postmodern. See, while I've been calling this the Element Bolt 2, it isn't really. Officially, this is the Element Bolt. The Bolt is dead. Long live the Bolt. This was released 4 years ago. And in that time, the so-called Not Bolt 2 adds a color screen, the mapping I think it should have had in the first place, some more current physical connectivity like USB-C, and some general refinements. The Bolt 2 is what it feels like when the smartest kid in the class phones in a test and gets a 91. Good, but arguably they should have done better. So let's talk about the negatives. Ease of setup. As much as I love the Wahoo app, there's no way to duplicate the settings from one Bolt to another. I had to manually reconfigure almost 6 pages of settings when I got this device. You should always reward your users when they buy another one of your products. USB-C. One of the biggest asks that people have right now is that micro USB goes away on biking gear and is replaced with USB-C, and Wahoo did that. So what's the problem? Well, I don't know if they cheaped out or they used a non-standard implementation of USB-C because it doesn't freaking work with all of my USB-C chargers. This is the only device I have that has that problem. I'm almost sort of impressed that they found a way to do it. So now, not only do I have to remember to bring another charger for this device, I have to remember to bring another charger that's the same as the charger I'm already bringing. Really frustrating. Next con, the buttons. So to me, this is still a step back. Some people complained that the original Bolt's concave buttons were hard to press with gloves on. I didn't experience it, but that certainly may be true. The problem is these new buttons are bad in a different way. The click action is super imprecise. Sometimes it feels solid, sometimes it feels clicky, sometimes it feels mushy and silent. And I don't know if I've even pressed the button, which leads to slow software. I purposefully waited on this review because the launch software had so many bugs, such as freezing and crashing. While I'm no fan of products being released with buggy software, I knew that Wahoo would improve the firmware over time, and to their credit, they have. But now we're 4 months post-launch, and my Bolt 2 is still noticeably slower to navigate between pages than the original. Combine that with the complaint I just had on the buttons, it means that I routinely have to cycle through pages multiple times after being unsure if I just didn't press the button hard enough or if the page is still loading. Super frustrating. Next up, speaking more generally, lack of onboard intelligence. This device knows my power zones, it knows my upcoming route. Why doesn't it provide me recommended pace instructions? Garmin does this for runners with their Pace Pro feature, and Better Bike Split does it for cyclists online. You can load their recommendations into these devices. Other systems are already proactively giving you tools to improve your performance rather than just report on it in live time or retroactively. But at present, with all the data that we're being fed, Wahoo still relies on you to know how to use the information. Other than navigation, I'm not convinced that this really is any smarter than my old Cat Eye wireless. It's just a screen displaying some numbers. Data display is not new, which leads into just this week, Wahoo launched their new ecosystem for smart training called System. And while outdoor workouts are coming, they're not supported on this yet. To me, this is a classic example of the differences between software companies that happen to make hardware, like Microsoft, and hardware companies that make software because they have to, like Wahoo. Next, the connected services between the Bolt and your phone are very limited. The Bolt has the ability to relay messages sent through your phone, such as SMS texts or calls, but they're incompatible with Facebook Messenger or Google Hangouts. This might not be directly the fault of Wahoo, but as someone who hasn't used SMS text since 2010, it's a real-world frustration that just feels like it should be solved by now. Garmin can display Facebook messages on their watches, and even Coros, a relatively small and new company, can do it on their watches, so I don't believe it's impossible, but we don't have it. Next, lack of incident alert. According to the box, this has an accelerometer, but no Wahoo device has the ability to detect if you've been in a crash and send a message using the connected device we just talked about. Garmin has this on both their Edge cycling computers and even some of their smartwatches, but Wahoo doesn't do it at all. And then lastly, let's just step back a sec. Where's the meat of this? Is it fair to judge a device by my hopes for it? Maybe not, but let's talk about it a second. These devices have no innovation. Case in point, the original Element has a feature that shows you where other Element users are on a map, but it doesn't do anything with that info. Why does it exist? How much work went into building it only to render it functionally useless? Give me the ability to navigate two friends together in real time, either to each other or a shared destination, and provide trip updates to each other, leverage the navigation functionality and connected device functionality and existing wireless connectivity to map us together, and then use the beeping sounds when we're close. And that's an obvious idea. What else could we do? Imagine a world in which I could find real-world riding partners at the press of a button. Wahoo knows how fit I am. Wahoo knows who's riding near me. Maybe give me the ability to get together with someone of my fitness level who's within a couple miles. And maybe that's a terrible idea, but the point is I thought of that in 10 minutes looking at the effort they've already put into this feature. What great ideas did they come up with and bin over the last 4 years? Or even worse, did they not come up with any great ideas at all? I think we should demand out there ideas that actually move the category forward. We've had data displays for a decade. I want something new. I'm unimpressed with sitting here and waxing poetic with positive statements about companies coming up with these milquetoast marginal improvements and expecting to be praised for them. Marginal improvements are the baseline expectation. Show us what else you can do. I openly acknowledge that these are complicated and tricky things to do right, but I also have really high expectations for one of the world's top cycling computer companies. I think it's important to provide context because it keeps us honest. When you look at the Bolt 2 solely based on how it exists now, bearing no reference to anything but itself, when you're postmodern, it feels like a nice device. It gets the job done well, and you're probably going to like it. But the modernist view explains the sense of longing left after you've spent your $280 and the shine wears off. It's good, but compared to what you subconsciously or consciously wanted, so much more it could be. Let me take you back to those scenarios I put right at the beginning of the video. For those of you looking to improve your navigation experience from the original Bolt, or you're looking to get your first modern cycling computer, or you're looking to benefit from the improved screen and the small changes, then yes, the new Bolt should probably make you happy. It'll serve your needs well. It's probably a worthwhile upgrade. If you don't care about those things, or you're toying with an upgrade just because newer sounds like it must be better, stay a modernist and wait for the real Bolt 2. If you found this helpful, I would appreciate a thumbs up, maybe subscribe, come back for more. I hope your training and racing is going well. I hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.